In today's video, we are going to walk you through setting up your very first blog post and also ensuring that blog post is search engine ready, and not just search engine Google, but also social media and all the platforms where your readers are looking for your content. So first, we are going to set up your very first blog post. And for your first blog post, we want this to be your origin story. We want you to share the reason behind setting up your blog. So now let's go to the dashboard and work on it from the back end. Now we are at the dashboard for our dummy blog, Victoria Bakes, and we're going to do our very first blog post. So we're going to navigate to post, and personally, I always click all post. Technically, you could just click add a post from there, but I like to comment in on the back end just to see what's there sometimes. Right now, it's a dummy blog and empty, so we have nothing on the back end. So now we're going to click add post from this window. And now we are on our blank canvas. This is where we will set up our very first blog post. Personally, I like to write my blog posts out sometimes in my notes app. Sometimes I will use Google Docs or Pages that is available on my computer. So I will be copying in some content for our very first blog post. Now, I highly recommend that your first blog post be something personal. This needs to be your why. Why did you start this blog? What are you hoping to share? What you are hoping readers will take away from visiting your site. I know there's some folks out there who want everything SEO optimized, keyword tight, and everything from the go. But in the age of AI, this is where you really need to infuse you in your content more than ever. So again, we're going back to blogging basics when we would actually share our thoughts and our feelings around the topic that we're sharing. So for the Victoria Bakes, because this also has some mental health elements in there as well, I have decided to create a post, which actually is a tad bit personal for me because baking does keep me sane. It's a great sweet treat. It was a childhood hobby, but it definitely just provides the escape I need from creating content, dealing with family, and sometimes the real world and just life itself. So the title I'm going with is Baking Saved My Sanity, How a Childhood Hobby Became My Mental Health Ritual. So I already have my title down pat. Maybe you don't. So just put something very simple in there to start. Now, the way I like to structure my blog post is that when a visitor is visiting my site, I like them to see an image, a representation first. But we're not going to work on our image just now, but we are going to create a block to hold that space for us. So you're going to click the plus sign that is usually on the right-hand side. So it's right here. We're going to click plus and we're going to select image. Sometimes the block you are looking for is not the thing that pops up first. So also feel free to use the search. Now you'll see like image advanced, gallery, and other features. I highly recommend you just select the plain image. No fluff, nothing extra. So now we have space for our image, and when the time comes, we'll work on that. But for right now, I just really want you to focus on getting the words out. So now we're going to click below the image block, and now you can see a proper placeholder is there. Now, the next thing you are going to do is type in your title. So for the title, I just pasted a welcome to my blog because this kind of feels very old school to me. This is taking me back to my blog origins, and I really want to encourage you to just embrace that and not overthink it. Now we're going to click enter, and you are going to type some more of your thoughts, but I'm just going to copy in some content that I have already prepared. So now that I have copied the content I had in my notes app for what I would like my first blog post to be, it is now all in here. It's plain text. I do have some things in bold. I even have some bullet points here. I'll show you how to get that set up just in case you're not familiar. But this essentially is my blog post. Now we're going to get into a bit of structure. Now I intentionally had my headings, my main titles in bold, so it's easy for you to see here as I show you on screen. Now the very first heading for your blog post should be an H1 heading. Now H stands for heading, so you'll often see H1, that is 1, H2, H3, it goes down 4, 5, and 6. Now, I want you to think of it as a hierarchical structure, not aesthetic, which is a mistake I have made in my blogging past. Each blog post should only have one H1 heading. You can have multiple H2 headings, but the only way you have an H3 heading is if you have a subheading of 2. So it should be, again, a hierarchical structure. You don't have one without the other. H3 only goes under H2, and H4 only goes under H3. Often than not, you'll only be using 3 major headings, but yes, the occasion sometimes does call for a 4th. So now I'm going to apply some of the headings to this blog post. So like I mentioned, your first heading should always be your H1. And again, you should only have one H1 and it should be at the top. So now I have selected my title. you are going to click what looks like the paragraph symbol. It will also highlight and say paragraph, so you know you're in the right place. You're going to click that and you are then going to select heading. It will automatically have you set at H2. So what I'm going to do is now select the title again. And now I'm going to switch from H2 by clicking H2 and switching to H1. So this is going to tell search engines, this is your main topic. This is number one, H1. Now, again, we're progressing. So what would our natural second heading be? That would be an H2, because again, we can only have one H1. So we are going to select our title again. We're going to click the paragraph icon. We're going to select heading. It automatically has it set at H2. You can confirm that by looking here. So we're going through our blog post and we're going to apply headings throughout. In my case, most of my headings are going to be H2 because these are subtopics of my main topic. Now, just to show you here, I can turn this into a heading if I would like, which is baking became my therapy, because afterwards I then go into how baking became my therapy. If you would like this to be a heading, you would again select the paragraph icon, you would select heading, but because this is a subheading of baking as therapy, this now cannot be an H2. This needs to be an H3. So again, you select your heading, you click what is H2, and now you switch to H3 because this is a subheading, a subtopic of the baking as therapy topic. Moving on, this is another topic. It's sharing what readers will find on my blog. So now this would not be an H3 because it's not a subtopic of baking as therapy. It's its own independent topic. So again, this would be an H2. Now, I already had some bullet points made, but I do want to show you how to do that. So I'm going to switch this to a paragraph. Now, because this is already bullet points and you might have bullet points in your notes app like I do, and you're copying it in, but you don't want it necessarily to be a bullet point, you just click the corner of one. You can then now click again and switch to paragraph. So now it is no longer a bullet point. So let's say you had just plain text in your notes app, but you're thinking, you know what, Victoria, this should be bullet points. You're now going to select the first bullet point. You're going to click the paragraph icon and you're going to select list. Now, because you want this to be a part of the same bullet point, you're going to click in the corner here. You're going to click your backspace and now it will bring it up to be a part of your bullet points. So now that my 4 points are back to being bullet points, we're moving on to our final heading, which is baking isn't just about feeding ourselves. So this one again will be an H2 heading. So now we have properly formatted our entire blog post with the correct headings. Again, the first heading is an H1 and you should only have one H1 header for your blog post. We have H2, which is indicating another topic that we're talking about, which is the beginning of my story. I then get into baking as therapy. Technically, this didn't need to be a subheading, but I made it an H3 subheading to kind of just show you there's that option as well. You can switch it back to a paragraph at any time by clicking this icon here and selecting paragraph, and it can go back, or again, you can make it a subheading like we discussed earlier, but in this case, it's a subheading of this one, so it's an H3. We have another H2 heading here, what you'll find on the blog, and closing things out by saying baking isn't just about baking, it's about taking care. So we close out with our final H2, and we have some bullet points to break up our content. So now that your text is complete, we are going to check in on our SEO. As you can see, we have absolutely nothing here. You can see our SEO icon has a red sad face because this is not SEO ready. So now we are going to include some keywords. We're going to create a meta description. We're going to create a slug and more to make this post search engine ready. Okay, so let's do some SEO. For our focus key phrase, I want this to be baking for mental health because mental health is going to be a big part of this baking blog. It's not just about the recipes, but it's how baking helps us to take care. So I'm going to put baking for mental health. As you can see already, SEO icon, it's not that red sad, it's turning orange. So just again, by putting in a clear focus key phrase, that is already helping us out. So now we're going to scroll down here and I'm going to make my slug reflective of my focus key phrase. So we are going to do baking dash, and remember we always put the dash, baking for mental health, but I think I'm going to add, this is a baking for mental health blog. So that also, adds a little bit to the URL slug as well. So we're going to do baking for mental health blog. And now we're going to create a meta description. This is basically telling search engines what this blog post specifically is about, but in a summarized manner. It also shows up in search results that helps readers decide if this is a blog I want to read, if this is a blog post that sounds interesting to me, because it also serves as a mini preview. Now, if you're like me, you're a tad bit long-winded. As you can see, this is orange. This is not green, which is ideal. So I already can tell this is long, but let's open up our Baking for Mental Health SEO analysis and see what we can fix. All right, so because this is your first blog post, we have a lot to fix right off the jump. The first thing is image, key phrase. We're going to get into images and alt text soon. So we're going to put that to the side. Francesca will show you how to fix that. But immediately we see key phrase in SEO title. It doesn't contain the exact match. And we also have the meta description length, which I kind of predicted at the beginning just from the color orange here. So let's start with the meta description length because that is usually a quick fix. So we're going to make some edits here to make this shorter, but we're also going to make an effort to ensure that we have our focused key phrase. Okay, so we've made some changes to our meta description. We already can see it's green here. So if we scroll back down, you can now see that the meta description length is good. It's no longer in or improvements. Now the key phrase in the SEO title. So if we go back to our key phrase, we can see here, baking for mental health is what I was going with. But up here, I have baking saved my sanity. So now we can switch this out to baking for mental health. We can delete the saved my sanity, but we can maybe keep the how a childhood hobby became a ritual because we don't want to repeat mental health twice. Now we're going to scroll back down. We're going to see how we're doing. And hello, we have lots of green smiley faces. So switching up that title really helped. So if we scroll down again, now we have the key phrase in the SEO title, which is also really great. We have that image problem, which we're going to get to in a second because we don't have any images in our blog post, but you'll also see a list of problems here. We don't have any outbound links. Outbound links means external websites, but I don't want you to worry too much for your first blog post because even though we have all these problems here, we have 6 problems here, 5 problems are main. 1 is a premium option, which will not be seen because we're using the free Yoast plugin. But even with all that, we do have our green smiley faces, which is something I like to shoot for. However, we can make some fixes here. For example, key phrase density, it's saying that our specific key phrase was only found once. So this is something maybe you can reread your blog post and integrate it more organically. So going back, baking for mental health, you can just highlight it, copy, and you can maybe just check here what you'll find on the blog because that's a great way to kind of maybe infuse it. So if you're here hoping to find your next go-to recipe, you're in the right place, but you'll find more than just recipes. And you can add, because my main focus is baking for mental health. So that's a way you just organically infused in that sentence, but then you also go in further by sharing more what they can expect. So we can just come back down here and we can see now the key phrase was found twice. So that's just another way that you can integrate the keyword. There's also key phrase in the introduction. Your key phrase does not appear in the first paragraph. Now the first paragraph is important because again, for search engines, they're looking to see if you are on topic. That way they know right off the bat, this is a priority for you. So we can scan introductory paragraph, which is this first one right here, and see how we can organically include baking for mental health without stuffing the keyword just because. So I added a sentence at the end of the first paragraph that includes baking for mental health as my primary keyword. So again, we're just going back down to Yoast SEO and we're double checking. And now we can see the key phrase is in the introduction. I think we covered a lot of bases here. I know, again, we didn't fix the outbound link because we are not linking to another website. This is our first blog post. I want you to stay focused on you and why you are creating this blog. As it relates to internal links, we will have a whole separate video on that because internal linking and external linking is a part of SEO strategy. But in the beginning, again, I don't want you getting too caught up in the strategy. Just stay focused on creating content that is true and authentic to you. So for now, we are going to save our work. So we are going back all the way up to the top and kind of to the right-hand side of the middle, you will see save draft. We are not yet ready to publish. We are just going to click save draft. Now we can see our draft has been saved. We can view a preview, but we're not going to do that yet because now I'm going to hand it over to Francesca where she is going to show you how to get your images ready for your first blog post and then walk you through those final steps to getting your first blog post published.
Okay, so now we're ready first to get our images ready because you cannot just take an image straight from your phone and upload it to your website. website. The first reason for that is that the file is too large. You're going to waste storage space, but also the file is too large and it's not going to perform well. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Canva and resize those images, and then they're going to go onto the blog post. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create a new design in Canva. And for the purposes of that first image on the blog post, I'm going to go with a 1600 by 1200 pixels. So I'm going to click create on my Canva and go to custom size. And then I'm going to just type that in with 1600 and the height 1200. Make sure the unit is in pixels and click create new design. Again, you can do this in whatever format or size you want to see at the top of your post. Another popular is just to use the custom setting that Canva already has for a Twitter post. So you can search for that. You can also choose to use a square image at the top. So kind of like feel that out for how you want that first image on the blog post to look like. So the first thing we're going to do is just throw in here the image that was on your phone. So make sure that you've now imported that into your computer, or you can actually use the Canva app as well. So if you want to directly upload from your phone to the Canva app, you can do that as well. In this case, we're going to do it from my computer. And I have the image right here. I'm going to simply drag it over here. Now to make it as big, you can either take the corners and drag, or you can actually also right click on the image and set image as background. And now obviously it's not in the right place. You double click on that and bring that down and click done. And now that is how I want it to look like in the blog post. We will give it a title. So in this case, I'm going to use in the title of the image the name of the blog. So it's Victoria Bakes. Then I get another dash, and I'm going to use the keyword that we're using for this blog post. In this case is baking for mental health. Click enter. So now that is saved as the title or file name of this image. Then we're going to click on share, download. We're going to switch the file type to a JPEG, and we're going to leave everything else the way it is. And we're just going to click download at the bottom. So now that image is on our computer, and we will optimize this further. So one free resource that you can use for that is tinypng. So you can just type at the top tinypng.com, which brings you here. Now what I like to do is convert the images directly to a WebP file, and that will give you the fastest load time and the smallest size of images. So before uploading the image, and you can upload and convert to WebP up to 3 images at a time on the free tinypng website. So you will click on convert images automatically and select WebP as the format. Then you will either upload or just drag and drop. So we're going to select this file right here, which we just downloaded, which is Victoria Bakes Baking for My Mental Health. Now, as you can see, the original file was 222 kilobytes, which is what Canva gave us as an optimized file from them. And it is now converted to 93 kilobytes, much, much smaller. So we will click on the button that says WebP, and that will download that converted and optimized file to your computer. So now we can go into the blog post and upload that where Victoria had already put the placeholder. So I have that right here, which as you can see, this is the post that we worked on. And this is the image placeholder that she had entered. If you click on it, it gives you the option to upload or just choose something from your media library. In this case, we're going to click upload. And then we will find the file that is your WebP file. As you can see here, I have the same file with a JPEG extension and with a WebP extension. So we will choose the one that is the WebP, that's the optimized file, and it will automatically start uploading that file. Now it is done uploading, so it is showing on the blog post, but we will do one more thing to optimize this for SEO value as well, and that is to add the alt text of this image, which you can see on the right hand side of the blog post. When you have the image blog selected, it actually gives you editing features for that particular block on the right hand side. If you can see at the top here of the right hand side, it says block, and it tells you that it's an image block that is currently selected. So that means that any settings here are the settings for this particular block. So we have here an alternate text, and this is where we're going to optimize this for SEO value while also providing a description for this image. So this is Victoria from Victoria Bakes with Halloween cupcakes in her kitchen, talking about baking for mental health and how that saved her sanity. So now we have used the main keyword baking for mental health in this alt text, but you also have to recognize that alt text, there is an actual accessibility purpose for it, which is why you want to try to make sure you're including a description, even if it's simple, of what they can see in that image so that it actually has accessibility value as well as SEO value. So in this case, it's doing both of those things. And if we scroll down at the very bottom, we're going to look for that SEO analysis. And that improvement, which was the image, is now good. So we've now optimized the image properly the way it was needed for SEO and also for accessibility, plus, of course, for the aesthetics of the blog post. So I do recommend clicking Save Draft now because anything can happen and you don't want to lose your work. So we've now completed the optimization and the insertion of the image. And then the last part that we need to do is categorize this post so it's in the correct category, and then choose a couple of settings, and then we can hit publish. So in order to do that, as I told you, on the right hand side, you have a menu which shows you the block, but there is also another tab that says post. So I'm going to click on that. And now you have a couple of settings here that you need to look at. The first thing is that you need to set your featured image for this post. Now, to keep things simple, I'm just going to use the image that we just uploaded. But if you wanted to do different sizes, for example, you can have a separate file for that, or even if you wanted to use a different image. So that is entirely up to you, but I'm going to suggest that you keep it very simple and you use the same image. So you click on set featured image. It's going to show you everything that is currently uploaded on your website. So if you had something uploaded that you want to reuse, you can use the search function. And because you've been saving those things with names that make sense and you're able to recall them, you would be able to find them. In this case, it's right here. So I'm just going to choose that here. Now, something I like to do is to optimize the images further. As you can see here, the alt text is not currently there. So I would just rewrite that in here. So you would want to make sure that it's also included here. So I'm just going to paste that in here, which is the same alt text that we just used inside of the post, and then click set featured image. Now, the next thing you want to do is to add an excerpt. And actually for this, I recommend that you copy the meta description that you worked on in the Yoast plugin and you paste that in here. So we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and we're going to grab this meta description right here, copy that, and go into add an excerpt on the right-hand side. That's going to pop up a little screen, and just paste that in there. Click out of it and it's now there and saved. The next thing you want to do is pick a date. Now, maybe you are going to hit publish immediately, which in that case, you don't need to do anything. But if you are working on posts that you want to post in the future, you can click on here and change the date. Same thing if you want to backdate a post as well. You can look through here, just choose the date and click out of it, and it will change when it posts. In this case, I'm just going to keep it as immediately. You have an option here to check again your slug, which you did work on here with Yoast, but it will show you as well here in the WordPress sidebar. And in this case, everything is good there. Now, if you keep scrolling down, you will also find the categories, which is important that a blog post is in at least one category, and obviously not the uncategorized category. So for this particular blog post, I'm going to choose the mental health category. As far as this blog post is concerned, we are not telling you to use any tags at the moment, so don't use anything there. Keep it simple. And now that everything has been categorized, the featured image is there, all your meta descriptions, all of your SEO optimizations, and your main image for the post is done, you can actually go ahead and hit publish. So let's go ahead and do that. At the very top on the right hand side, it's the big blue button. Once you click publish, it will ask you to confirm because they don't want you to publish something on accident. So there is a second publish button that you're going to click. So click publish again. And now you can simply click on view post right here, and it will take you to what that blog post looks like. Now, for right now, it has the standard blog post look, and we will get into customizing how this look and how it feels in another video where we're doing blog customization. But for right now, that is how it's looking. You have your main title, your main image, and the text of your blog post. Of course, the comment section as well. And like I said, we will get into how this looks in another video where we're customizing the blog.
Yay! We just did our first blog post together. I hope it was as painless as you hoped it would be. Again, the biggest takeaway from this is to keep it simple. Keep it absolutely simple. Now, this is where I want you to get all those ideas out onto your blog. So everything you've been thinking and feeling, this isn't the moment to overthink it. This is the opportunity for you to just get into the habit of blogging. So whatever is top of mind that fits into your top 5 categories, this is where I want you to focus creating content around. So in the case of this blog, it could be creating recipes, sharing behind the scenes, journaling, crocheting, all the things just fit. Once it fits in a category, we just want you to just get into the habit of blogging and posting. Now, in the next video, we are going to show you how to customize your blog page. So yes, we're going to get into a bit of aesthetics with you. We'll show you how to format your blog page, your archive page, the single blog post, and more. So everything as it relates to customizing your blog, we're going to get into that. We're also in another video showing you how to customize your pages. And we're also going to get into keyword research. Because again, once you've finished creating all the blog posts that are top of mind, that have you excited, that focus on you and your story, maybe some family recipes, and just anything, again, top of mind. We will get into keyword research so you can now start creating content that readers are looking for. So be sure to like the video and subscribe and stay tuned and watch the next video in our series.